Peace. This is Brother Hatem. Yeah, I'm coming to you live on FreeStyle Fridays. I'm trying to make sure everything is happening on time, but, things go against the plans of man often. So, I don't have the intro music because for some reason my machine's been crashing when I've been using the Bluetooth mic, and I don't understand. That's been some shit that have popped up in the last couple of weeks, and it's really been bothering me. And right now I'm using an old mic, so hopefully you can hear the sound. Those that really want to hear it, it's going to break through all the madness and get into what we're talking about. Before I jump into what I'm going to talk about today, or at least what we're going to talk about today, because this is the largest group that I done had, and hopefully they don't get shy on me and shit. But we're going to get to talking a little bit about modern day slavery. I'm going to pull some pieces from my book and get into it, and we're just going to chop it up, kick it for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours or whatever, because I got a station now, and we're going to kick it all the way live. But here, check this out. I first want to send out shots to the things I love. Sending out shots to Oxy Water. You know what I'm saying? I know it's hard to find, but hey, I had this little girl from at work bring me a bottle of Oxy Water Black. I ain't had that shit in months, and oh my God, I killed that shit right away. So go and look for Oxy Water at the store near you. Also want to send out shots to Orange 82, who usually give me the music that I start with, but I ain't start with no music right now because the machine keep crashing, or I don't know if it's Spreaker. Spreaker, y'all need to get y'all shit together, because I'm sitting out here advertising, telling everybody get a speaker station, and now you're crashing on me. You give me a station, and now it's crashing and shit. Can't have that. Want to send out shots to, of course, I'm at the Shisha Lounge at 2369 North High Street. You know, this is where we do FreeStyle Fridays. Every now and then I move to another location, but most of the time you will find me here, sitting up here thinking. Sending out shots to Unidaji Capoeira under the leadership of Monitor Dentista, who moved up to Cleveland, but we had practice going on tonight, and it was a nice crowd there. Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, Toledo, Chicago, and Decatur, Madison, Alabama. Hopefully we'll be doing some workshops soon, so all those that's in Columbus, that's interested in Capoeira, come on out. You know, you can learn something. Especially if Monitor Dentista here, or maybe he might bring Mastery down. I don't know. But however we do it, we're going to get it in. And, of course, I'm going to make sure they got a place to handle the business. I'm not doing the flips and stuff like that, but I get in a holder for a couple of minutes and wear some of y'all young asses out. But that's how we do it. Now, also, I want to send out shots to New Harvest Art Complex. They got Professor Griff coming in town. He'll be going live tomorrow afternoon. I don't have a time exactly yet. Anybody know the time? 3 o'clock? He'll be going on about 3 o'clock. Huh? Probably about $10. It's going to be about $10 at the door. Have your money. Come out, support New Harvest Art Complex. Show them some love. Get yourself a Secret Lover fishboat. Fishboat so good, you want to hide it from your lover. All right. Now, also I want to send out shots to myself. Check out my other stations on Mile 3. After I get done doing my run, some of y'all can work out with me. And then after I get done with my run, I go and do one of my historical rants about life, spirituality, money, politics, sex, whatever is on my mind after I get done running 3 miles. All right. Last but not least, check out my website, www.giamijourney.com. You can check out my blog, leave some comments, let me know what you think. You can also listen to my radio shows, Giami Journey, this one right here, or you can listen to FreeStyle Fridays. I'm going to put Folk Tales for Grown Folks up on there too. Also, stay tuned because I'm going to be reading my latest book, because I'm trying to do books on MP3 so that you can download them. Those of you that's working out, those of you that just want something to listen to, I'm going to start recording some of my books so that I can have some ordered thoughts out there. Because, a lot of times I throw stuff off freestyle and I lose them, but I want to make sure that those people that's really trying to be on the journey and want some type of guide, not a law, a guide, give you some ideas. I'm going to be coming from some of my books. I'm going to be recording them live. So go to www.giamijourney.com. So now, this Freestyle Friday, I'm going to kick this shit off here. Modern slavery. Modern slavery. Now, when I say slavery, a lot of people think back to the 1800s, whips and chains, slave ships and shit like that. But what I want to talk about is corporate slavery. I want to talk about job slavery. I want to talk about relationship slavery. I want to talk about tobacco slavery. I want to talk about all those things that are oppressing us right now and keeping you from moving to where you need to be as an individual or as groups. Because there's all types of things out here right now that hold us in slavery. And I want to go on and explore some of this shit first. But I need to talk about the major tool of the slave maker. Now, in my book, Warrior's Handbook to Life's Journeys, the Giami Method, I talk about the Giami questions. Now, those that's been following the show, you know that far as what I do is I want to make people think. Because I believe that the most potent weapon and the next weapon of the world is, of course, going to be the mind. Because the worst thing that could ever happen is for some of the people I know to really come into power. Because if you think things are fucked up now, some of the individuals that I know, if they was to get in power, it would be even more fucked up. Because they have not really mastered themselves. So they're not going to be able to master the economy. They're not going to be able to master politics. They're not going to be able to master things. Most of us talk about freedom, but we really don't talk about what freedom is. Most of us talk about liberation, but we don't really even have a vision of what liberation looks like. We don't even have a vision of what freedom land will feel like, what it feels like to be free. So one of the things that I try to focus on when I'm doing trainings is to get individuals to start using the weapon that's going to make you free. And that's your mind. So one of the first things we instill in all the young people, all the old people, everybody I'm working with is what we call the Giami questions. We got about 34 of them, and we make individuals go through the stages of learning. Now, I'll get to that in a second. But question 34 asks this question: what are we suffering from? And the answer is an oppressed mind state. And 35 says, what was done to put us in this state? We were convinced that our physical well-being was in the hands of our captors. We were denied access to our cultural traditions, language, diet, spiritual practice, and rituals. Our culture and history was negated. Our captors' history and culture were elevated. We were turned against each other with the divide and conquer strategy. Now, back to slavery. When we look at slavery, slavery uses a certain tool to get us to that point. And the tool that they use is fear. Now, what they do in any slave situation is that there is a fear that is capitalized on by the slave maker. If he got you fearing for your life, if he got you fearing for your welfare or your economic growth or whatever, they got you. Now, if we want to be free, because I'm not just talking about physical freedom. If you truly want to be free, you have to start taking an inward journey first. Because a lot of people get lost on that shit. They think that freedom is being able to do whatever the fuck you want physically. But according to the African openness to the tree of life, our elders and our ancestors say freedom is in the inner head, which means that it's something that has to be cultivated inside of us. So you can actually be free in prison. You can actually be free right now. It's just a matter of changing your mind state. How do we change our mind state? So that's enough of my tirade right now. I'll come back to some other points. But before I go any farther with that, I want some of the people that's around here that want to get in on the conversation to at least be able to introduce themselves. Y'all know I'm Brother Hatim. The only rule I got is don't cuss more than me. That's it. I just fucking with y'all. Cuss all you want. It's my show. You can do what you want. So anybody want to take the mic, make sure you're talking to it. The mic is broke. You got to talk just right. I'll let you know when it's not high enough.
You said just talking here? I'll put it right here. Yo, I'm good. This is Brother Johannes, and I just want to come in and touch on a couple subjects that I've been thinking about, for a long time. I'm going to keep it quick, but first I'm going to talk about economics. I think that economics for Africans everywhere, as far as Pan-Africans and thinking about our people, we need to start thinking about, who we can invest in and what banks we can invest in that are black-owned or African-owned, talk it up a little bit. And, we need to definitely, see how we can economically change our status, because economics is everything. If we don't have economics, we have nothing. If we have no purchasing power, we have no funds, no revenue to fund the dream and the revolution that we have for everybody, then we have nothing. So I think economics is a very big thing that we need to educate our youth on and understand how we need to invest into our community and stop wasting $1.1 trillion worth of purchasing power that we're going to have by 2015, and actually start investing into something that's positive and means something to our community. So, that's all I really want to say, but I'm going to pass the mic from now on. But just really think about economics, because we need that first to change anything, Peace.
Yo, what up, world? It's your boy Quasey. My bad for the little hiatus. I know I ain't talked to y'all in a while. I know y'all doing good out there. I can feel your energy, feel your spirits. But yeah, I want to comment what the brother just said about the economics. I gotta wholeheartedly agree with that. Economic coming so many other levels than paper money or credit. The type of forms of money people used to. But I even want to take it back a step before the economics, because economics in and of itself is a language. You know what I mean? And if you're not really literate of the language of economics, then you're not gonna be able to participate in the system fully. You can always be a slave, basically, because the economic system is designed to promote capitalism and levels, hierarchy. And if you don't speak, the language is designed so if you don't speak the top level languages, then you don't get that top level dollar or that top level asset. You know what I mean? So one thing I really pride myself on and strive for is learning new words and incorporating new words and ideas into my vocabulary, and I feel like it's made me a sharper person. One of the words that I actually just picked up this semester, I'm taking an African Studies class, and I've been aware of the concept, but I like the word. The word is, what's the word? What is the word, man? It just slipped my mind. Sorry about that, y'all. It's gonna come back to me in a second. It's I want to say equilibrium. It's like a scale. It's a scale that you use to kind of. So the best way I define it is a scale that starts from zero and goes in opposite directions. It's a good example would be measuring pH balance, acidity versus alkaline. What do you call that? What is that word? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm slipping right now. Nah, it starts with an E. It's like the root word is equal. I don't know. See, I'm slipping, y'all. I'm trying to educate, and it's not coming to me right now. But anyways, it's crazy. Y'all better know my voice by now. I mean, I ain't spoken in a while, but I done talked enough shit, and I gotta get my cut. I ain't cussing quite enough right now. Maybe that's why it ain't coming to my mind. But it really stresses the concept in the word. It stresses the importance of looking at things from both sides and having a balance. It speaks to the balance of things, and how if you look at one side of a matter and you only focus on that side of a matter, then it's pretty easy to pull the wool over your eyes, or to pull the wool over the eyes of a society that has been trained to think in a single-minded way. Matter of fact, since that word ain't coming to my mind, a couple of quotes that I heard came to mind. I want to get y'all's feedback on this. I'm gonna throw a couple quotes I recently heard out there and see what y'all think about them. One of them is, "A single-minded man is unstable in all his ways." And I heard that from one of the OG. I was having a conversation with a couple rosters, and one of the old school rosters said that. But then I was listening to this hip hop album, Kevin Gates, Luca Brasi story. Check it out, it's hot. He said the same thing on one of the songs. But then on the flip side, I was listening to Goody Mob, and in one of their songs, they said, "Beware of this." And you know what? I gotta take a step back. I said the first quote wrong. It's actually beware the double-minded man is because he's unstable in all his ways. Beware the double-minded man because he's unstable in all his ways. And the second one is beware of the single-minded man because single-mindedness is synonymous with retardation. So I'm gonna say them again because I messed up the first time. The first one is a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. The second one is single-mindedness is synonymous with retardation. What's y'all's thoughts on that?
Want to say anything? All right. So now we talked about liberation. We talked about freedom. And we talked about modern-day slavery. Kwesi brought up a point about the double-minded man and the single-minded man. Johannes brought up the point about economics. But I'm going to say this, because economics is a tool. But I want to remind y'all that economics is just a tool because we got plenty of money. When we just talk about, if we're looking at economics at the way they're trying to teach us to look at it, we got plenty of money. So it's not the economics that is causing us problems. I'm going to give you a story. One of my elders that I sit down and chill with on Sundays used to tell me about how him and his friends would get together on a weekend and they would bring bricks and shit and they used to build a house. They would build a house. They didn't have to have a lot of money to do that. They brought those skills, and those skills worked in that whole economic scheme, because you got individuals with money who can't actually do shit. You see what I'm saying? But you need individuals that have the skills. So when we look at economics, we need to look at how resources move and flow through the community, and not just about getting that money, because it ain't just about the money. It ain't the money that's going to free us, because as a matter of fact, if you give black folks total control of their money now, we probably would die. There's a quote that I want to use. It says, if you want to kill a fool, give him a bag full of money. Because nigga going to kill himself. So we always got to remember that, because I think one of the major issues is that a lot of times we've been programmed, and it's not our fault. We've been programmed to look at everything externally, when our ancestors truly looked at things from the inside out. But when you are constantly beset by hunger, when you are constantly beset by fear, and there's all this shit going on around you, it's hard to focus on the inside. So now we thinking that economics is something about managing resources outside ourselves. We never look inside ourselves. In Giami, another thing that I make sure that everybody understands is 3 levels of learning. And these 3 levels of learning, one of the reasons I stress them is because they are the keys to us really getting out of slavery. First step is memorization. Now, everybody knows about memorization. We all do it. We memorize phone numbers. We memorize faces. We memorize names. We memorize facts. But that is just the first step. And that's the step that most people get stuck on, because they memorize. When you run into somebody and they could quote everything to you from the Bible, they could quote from the Quran, or they could quote from a famous historian, what that's telling you is that they have an incredible memory. It don't tell you that they're a good thinker. Thinking and memory don't go hand in hand. And most motherfuckers that are slaves just memorize shit. A slave just needs to be able to memorize where the fucking water is that I tell your punk ass to get up and go get. A slave just needs to memorize where your motherfucking job is. That's it. And you just have to remember what you have to do. I'll go to the next level in a second. Kwesi, want to hit on that?
the word I was looking for just came back to mind, and all of a sudden I remember why I thought the word was so important. The word is continuum. I don't know why I was thinking continuum. To think of things in terms of a continuum. I know, man. My bad. Hey, it's the letters look similar when they in the lowercase, kind of a little bit, but we think about, like, we talking about slavery, so the concept of racism, which I go on my little Facebook rant. You know what I mean? I went on a Facebook rant the other day about racism kind of being an overused word, and the concept is kind of watered down. It doesn't really get that much. If you think about discrimination, on the other hand, then that's like that's the process. That when people talk about black people being able to be racist or not, you can, but black people aren't in a position to be discriminatory. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have to have some type of access, or you have to control access to be able to discriminate against other people. You know, so and then so to think of that in terms of continuum, on one end you have discrimination or oppression, and on the other end you have privilege. So nobody is absolutely privileged and nobody is absolutely oppressed. You're somewhere on that continuum. You know what I mean? Some people are close to the middle. I think myself, I've experienced oppression and I've experienced privilege. So I think it's important for people to be able to look at things from that matter, and then when you consider that along the lines of like economics, then that kind of takes on a whole new light, because then you think about people's access to economics based on like the aspect of the continuum that they grew up in, or they was influenced by, that they probably never even considered, or then to consider it in terms of a continuum, then it kind of opens up a whole new way of looking at things, and I would say probably a whole new approach at being able to take control of your life.
So, that continuum thing, you know what I'm saying now? So, slavery, master and slave, a continuum. Positive, negative, a continuum. Being able to look at life holistically. Powerful piece. Let's move to the next level of learning. The next level, I want you to think about this. We say you go from memorization with the questions and with the concepts that we deal with, and you move to intelligence of the mind. Good God. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm getting old. I had a definite intelligence of mind. This is when you start moving towards freedom. It's not total freedom, but it's better than where most people are. This is where you can take a concept, like Quasi was talking about continuum, and not just regurgitate what somebody else said, but be able to apply the idea and the concept to your life and to who you are. And you start asking those critical questions. Slaves don't ask questions. When you want to see a slave, go around and look at those individuals who don't ask questions about their life and about the bullshit that's going on around them. Straight slave. You know what I'm saying? Straight slave. Are you a slave? That's the key piece that I want to try to get across. That's the question I'm trying to get across to everybody that listens to my show. Are you a slave? Are you listening and not asking questions? Do you just go on stuff on blind faith? Because people before you have done it. And it's been done like this for so long. Like, for example, blind faith. This is where all of us practice. I want a pack of cigarettes, so I go across the street to the store. I pull out a piece of plastic. I give the man a piece of plastic. He take the piece of plastic, and he just runs it. Or I pull a paper money out my pocket and give it to him, and he just runs it. Now, this is the question. What gave that plastic value? What gave that paper value? It's our blind faith. It's our blind faith. It's our blind faith in things. We don't ask questions. Like, for example, we're moving into a whole new realm of reality, and probably none of the people I'm with and none of the people in any of the groups I'm with is really, we might be stockpiling on bullets. We might be stockpiling on guns and some food, but are any of us really stockpiling things that we could really trade? I mean, because if the shit hit the fan, I ain't trading no goddamn bullets. You understand? I'm keeping them motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? I'm keeping my bullets, but the point I'm saying is, are we stocking up on silver? Are we stocking up on gold? Are we stocking up on those things? Are we spending our money in a way to prepare for what's coming? Are we really going to participate in the real economic system that may be about to dawn on us? But a lot of us don't realize it because we so used to just having faith in this little paper currency. We blind faith. We're not thinking. We don't have intelligence of the mind because we're not asking the questions. I'm not saying burn your money. If you want to burn it, you can mail it to me. Right now. You know what I'm saying? But the point that I'm trying to make is we don't ask those questions. We don't ask those questions. Why do all hip-hop artists, at least the ones on the radio, sound exactly the fuck alike? There is no creativity no more? Why is every song that come on the radio that's directed towards us is about fucking, stripping, and fighting and showing off your rims? We don't ask those questions. And then when we ask the questions, we don't engage in the questions in an intelligent conversations. We more concerned about who gonna be in what is it, Spring Madness, what they call it? You know, the Final Four. We're more concerned about who won the fucking football game. You know what I'm saying? So we're slaves to that shit too. But I'm gonna shut up here. Anybody else? Any comments? You gotta let it flow. That's what I'm saying. Let it flow. That's what it's about. It's called freestyle. Yeah. This is how I rhyme. Shit.
Oh yeah, yo, it's brother Johannes on the ones and twos. I'm back on it again. All right. I guess I want to touch on the issue that like Brother Hatem was saying. You know, I do think that we are slaves to a lot of materialistic things and rituals and this fake culture that they pushed upon us. Like Brother Hatem was saying earlier. You know, it's when I was saying economics. I guess I was basically talking about how we're going to, route our money and what's useful and what's not, and things that, we're going to need when things hit the fan, like Brother Tim was saying, and things that we don't need or things that we think we need that we really can live without. You know what I'm saying? Inner and outer. So, I think we need to get our spirits together. I think we need to understand spiritually who we are, as well as economics, as well as, self-preservation. All these things is subjects I think that we definitely need to touch on and start to rethink. Not to get off a side note or anything like that, but I've been studying a lot of different like tribes and stuff and different history, like the Olmecs, the African tribes and the American presence, and the Fulani in West Africa and how they weighed off Europeans and Spaniards and the Moors and just all kind of stuff, Egyptians, all kind of stuff. So I think that as a people, we need to start getting more worldly and stop being so local and stop being so less, we should be more communicative. If your brother or sister needs something, you need to try the best to help them out if they're really deserving people and they really found themselves. And the ones that don't know and don't have the knowledge, you need to make sure you give them the knowledge. And that's your duty as an African man or African woman in this country, regardless of how you feel about it. So, I just want to touch on a couple of things like that we definitely need to become worldly people and understand what our people's doing in every country, because we're not the only ones that's going through the struggle. And, that's basically all I got to say. You want the mic, yeah?
Yeah, man, the brother's speaking so much truth, man. The brother's speaking truth, like on the expansion piece, man. Like outside of getting outside of being localized. That's so major, and just not necessarily from a physical standpoint of which that's necessary. Lead a state, lead a city, lead your hood, lead a country, lead a planet. Goddammit. You
said a planet.
I mean, shit. Hey, I was talking to my dude earlier today. He doing aeronautical. What is it? Engineering. I don't know how to say that shit. So, aeronautical engineering. That's what it is. Yeah. So we might be up out of here pretty soon. I'm making sure I'm pretty cool with dude because he might be building a ship right now, but not on the real. So, but yes, expanding out not just physically, but also back in time and studying history and writing about the future. Whether it's physically writing it down or just talking about it, having conversations about what's to come. Because as the brother sitting next to me like to say, the person that writes about the future controls the future. You know what I mean? Economics. We was talking about that blind faith piece. When you swipe your card and you just got faith that you're going to get your cigarettes, that system is called trust. You know what I mean? You get a trust fund. The system of economics is called trust. You know, and we do that shit. We trust that shit. And we ain't in the conversation about when the trust might be terminated, because one thing about trust is it's a vulnerable position. That's the thing about trust and love and all of those things. It's ultimately, it boils down to vulnerability. And when you have people, to be vulnerable is to be human, is to exist. But at the same time, to protect your vulnerability is what makes you to continue to exist. Natural selection. If you don't protect your vulnerability, then you don't exist. You know, so that's what we talk about at the end of the day, is existence. People, you know, making sure that they're doing what they got to do to be here, to protect their seed, protect they life message, and remember their life message, and you know what I mean? It goes deep.
Now, we're going to move to step 3. So now, you see some intelligence of the mind. You see some individuals who've been doing some studying, and what they done did is they done translated it, they done worked with it in their mind, and they are able to talk about it in their life. Johannes was talking about tribes that he was studying, some Olmec stuff, the presidents, and he's able to look at that and not just memorize the facts, but he's able to go deeper. Kwesi is able to look at the concepts that he throw out and go a little bit deeper. That's the first level of freedom. Being able to look at things. When we look at the principles of the Nguzo Saba, the second principle, which is one of my favorite, is Kuji Chakalia, which is self-determination. Being able to define yourself for yourself. And remember this, the power that in the myth, or whether it's if you really believe in it, the fact for some of y'all out there is that the power that Adam was given over all the animals and the world was through the way of him being able to define each one of those. When you are able to define reality, that means you're doing a little bit deeper thought. You're thinking about it. You're not just memorizing it. You look at it. You see it's a leaf. When you're able to define what type of leaf that is, and define what type of life you live, define what type of people you hang around with, that's when you really become free. Self-definition, when you are able to define and use the power and harness the power of self-determination, you become truly a free being. Even if the motherfuckers grab you and throw you in the middle of a motherfucking pit. Amongst all that, if you are able to define your reality, you remain free. When I want to enslave you, the first thing I do is take away your ability to define. All the things that you touch, I define. Think about this. When we came from Africa, we didn't speak no English. And motherfuckers probably ain't speak real good English until maybe 5 years into it. But I bet you they understood everything that motherfucker told them to do. Out of fear. He defined everything, redefined the whole world for you. He said, Al, you believe in this? No, you believe in this. And this is why. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to think. I don't need you to think. What I need you to do is to do what I say. And be careful when you hanging with people and they telling you that type of shit. Because we still do that in our community. Bitch, don't do what I, you know what I'm saying? Don't do what you think, do what I think. You know what I'm saying? Many of us come up out of those environments and shit. So we are perpetrating some forms of slavery within our own community, within our own circle. Anybody that gets upset with you for thinking and asking questions is somebody that you don't need to be fucking with. You need to be blazing your own trail. You need to be using the wisdom of your ancestors to do your own thing. You don't have to follow nobody. That's freedom. And you could choose to follow somebody if you so do that. If you choose to do that. But it has to be your choice. You can't be forced into it. Now, the last piece, which is the most important piece where you become totally free, is intelligence of the heart. Now, why do we say intelligence of the heart? Freedom. In ancient Kemet, they used to pull the brain out of the nose and throw that shit away. Because when the bottom line hits, the most important part of us was contained in what's called the heart. Not just this thing that beat, but the heart. Because Kwesi talked about being vulnerable. He talked about feeling. What you call it? Trust. Trust comes from the heart. It don't come from the mind. Most of the things that's important to us in our life don't come from our mind. It comes from our heart. We are all driven by feelings. Some of us can act like we're not, but we are. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. You go to a car shop, you go to a car lot, you got enough money to buy whatever car you want. Now, logic would say you would get the most beneficial car to you and the planet. And it's sitting there. But they bring out a car that's your favorite color. And it just happened to have your favorite rims. And it might only get 3 miles to the motherfucking gallon. Which one you gonna go with? You gonna go with the one that moves you. You women out there, you might not, maybe you can't feel me. You go to the shoe store. You know you ain't supposed to buy shit. But you go in there and they got a pair of boots that you've been wanting. You ain't gonna go with the logical thing. No. You gonna find a way to get those boots because you feel it. Intelligence of the heart. Well, actually, that's not really intelligent. But what I'm saying is, it's the heart that moves us. So once we conquer our heart, once we really understand and don't just commit things to memory and just don't work with them in our mind, transform them in our heart, they become part of us. That's when we become totally free. I'm off my soapbox for a couple minutes.
Well, I hop up on there for a second. This is crazy. I got a bad habit of not introducing myself when I get on the mic. So I guess I just corrected it once. But yeah, that intelligence of the mind, memorization, intelligence of the mind, intelligence of the heart, is something I've had a privilege to think about and apply some of my experiences through that lens. You know what I mean? It's important and valuable to be able to look at things through so many different lenses, because you start seeing so many different similarities, because that's kind of like an exhaustive list when you think about memorization, intelligence of the mind, intelligence of the heart. And if you really understand what those concepts represent, then that's it covers all possible forms of learning. You know what I mean? And then that pops up that 3 that you get in so many spiritual systems and so many fundamental mathematics systems and so many principles of architecture and all type of stuff. You know what I mean? You get that 3 and you get that solid foundation, like one of the most solid foundations that you could have. It always comes back to that 3. And whenever you have a 3, you have a triangle, and when you stand it up, no matter how you stand it up, you have 2 bases, or you have 2 legs that are the base, and then you have 1 on the top. And that's always going to be the intelligence of the heart at the top, because that's like the pinnacle of understanding. It's that which reaches highest, and existing in the first 2 levels, you can experience a lot of, you experience the full load of everything, but to be able to understand your feelings through that process, that's like a big problem, I think, is people don't really have there's so much going on, so much chaos, lives are so fast that people don't have a time to really step back and think about how they feel. You know what I mean? And it's so hard to really to connect with other people if you, on a real level, if you don't even think about what's going on in your own emotional state. That's the realest thing. You can think, I got plenty of thoughts and stuff floating around my head, but my emotional stability is what's going to be able to allow me to share my thoughts and make them tangible for myself and for anybody else. You know what I mean? So, and I'm taking a real interesting combinations of classes this semester that got me thinking about things through so many different lenses. I'm a psych major, you know what I mean? So I'm taking a couple psychology classes, but I'm taking an African studies class for the first time in my life, and it's pretty enlightening to think about some of the things that happen through a historical lens, but then look at how people develop and how mental illnesses and things like that kind of prevail through generations, and are certain situations people experience are more I guess they kind of promote mental illnesses. like war situations. Post-traumatic stress syndrome is a something that comes to mind. A lot of people might be familiar with that term, or definitely if you got somebody that was in the military, you might be familiar with how people might act if they done seen some traumatic shit. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking in the hood, man, I know a lot of niggas that done got killed, and I know a lot of niggas that know a lot of niggas that got killed. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking like post-traumatic stress syndrome is probably high as hell in the hood, and really at the basis of that, all it is depression. You know what I mean? It's a real chronic, strong depression that lasts over a long period of time, and that makes people have flashbacks and relive events that keep them in that depressive cycle. But we talking about the hood. In the hood, being depressed is not that's not no G shit. You can't be a nigga and be depressed. You know what I'm saying? You get shit slapped out of you for that by a depressed ass nigga. Because nobody will come to the forefront and talk about those type of things, because it's not something that people feel comfortable, again, being vulnerable to the realest things. And that vulnerability is the only place you can heal. It's by being vulnerable and acknowledging that depression. You know what I'm saying? You back.
Now, I'm gonna hit on some other points real quick, since we still talking about that slavery piece. And those that follow my timeline, y'all know I'm a big Bruce Lee fan. And one of the things that really kind of blew my mind about Bruce Lee, because during that period of time, you had individuals coming up and just changing shit, because at the same time, Bruce Lee was doing his thing, Muhammad Ali was doing his thing, and in sports, and then you had James Brown doing his own thing, and all these individuals decided to go outside the norm to really start expressing themselves. When we talk about intelligence of the heart, like for example, when you look at a James Brown, or you look at a Fela, or you look at a Muhammad Ali, or you look at a Bruce Lee, you look at individuals who memorized the skills, thought about the skills, integrated them into their life, and it was able to express that shit in a beautiful way. Muhammad Ali changed how boxing was done forever. Bruce Lee changed how motherfuckers looked at martial arts forever. James Brown did shit with music that motherfuckers still can't do. If you ever hear any of the live interviews of any musicians that played with James Brown was able to get out of them rhythms that don't even exist. If you listen to James Brown music, or you listen to Fela music, them motherfuckers is doing things that are incredible. And Bruce Lee said this. He said, when somebody come to me to learn martial arts, they're asking me to teach them how to express themselves, because martial art is about learning to express yourself. Now, you're like, what? I thought martial arts was about kicking somebody's ass. He said some people might want to express themselves through anger. Some people might want to learn how to control themselves a little bit more. But the whole thing is about learning to feel what's inside of you and being able to demonstrate that with your body. Isn't that where we need to be, black folk? You know what I'm saying? Because we can't really express ourselves honestly, because we got this political correct shit. You know what I'm saying? We allow predators to run around in our motherfucking neighborhoods because we ain't honest about this shit. We ain't keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? We're not really looking at motherfuckers and really defining and shining the light on their evilness. We all got evil motherfuckers around us. We all got negative motherfuckers around us, and you can feel that shit. But we accept that shit. We accept the fucked up things they do because, oh, that's life. But whose life is that? You talking about you want to be free. You talking about you want to be rich. You know what I'm saying? You talking about all this other shit. But you're not keeping it real so that you can put yourself in an environment where you can truly express the gift that was given to you. Because this is hell to me. I got several different types of hells that I go through. But I would think that hell would be going through life doing shit that everybody else wants you to do. I went to college because motherfuckers told me that I was supposed to go to college to get money. So I would say some shit like, I'm going to go to school and be an engineer. I was okay at math, but I wasn't in love with math. I was in love with people. And I never had nobody sit down with me and be like, dude, college is not about learning how to make money. College is about learning how to express who you are. You go to college to discover who you are. Motherfuckers told me I was supposed to go to college to make money. That's a big crock of shit. Because let me tell you why. I spent 7 years trying to do what everybody else said I should be doing, when I should have been doing philosophy. The fuck? I should have been pursuing what the fuck I wanted to pursue rather than what everybody else was talking about I was supposed to. But I wasn't thinking. I wasn't free. Once I became free, I started my own studies. You see what I'm saying? And some of y'all need to do the same thing because you're living other people's dreams. You're living what other people want you to do. So you talking about freeing yourself from the white man? Hell, free yourself from the black man first, nigga. Free yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because you are confined to doing everything that everybody else wants you to do. You know what I used to do? I wanted to study religion. I wanted to study comparative religion. I wanted to study philosophy. But I couldn't bring myself to go to my Thanksgiving dinner with my family and tell them motherfuckers, hey, I'm going to be a philosopher. Them motherfuckers would laugh me out the house and I would have been fighting every Thanksgiving and every Christmas. But rather than being true to myself, I decided to be true to what everybody else told me. And I think that's one of our issues.
Yo, I love wisdom. When wisdom is in the air, you know it's wisdom because everything always connects. You know what I mean? It's like you can, if it's truth and it's wisdom, then you can't help but draw parallels of the truth and wisdom. You know what I mean? Like the brother was just talking about, this is Quasi again. The brother was just talking about Bruce Lee. And then he was also talking about how important it is to to live somebody else's expectations is to live in hell, more or less. You know what I mean? But a person that comes to mind when you talk about Bruce Lee is Morimoto Musashi. He's known as the greatest swordsman of all times. He killed over 100 men in battle and in duels actually, and almost 1,000 men in battle in general. And he's like, I want to say Chinese. He wrote the Book of Five Rings. Man, he's an interesting cat. But the thing about him, even going back to the fear piece, to, try to tie it all in. If I can make this move, I'm trying to make the fear piece. When he would enter a duel, he would know his fear, but he wouldn't be affected by his fear because he would know that the fear existed in him. You know what I mean? So he would be able to focus only on his opponent and knowing that his opponent was going to be acting out of his fear, acting out of that emotion instead of his intelligence of his emotion. You see what I'm saying? So that's the advantage that he always had, is he had the understanding of his emotions. He had knowledge of the heart. And I think Bruce Lee studied this. I think Bruce Lee drew a lot from him. So that's how I'm gonna tie that into the whole living somebody else's reality as hell. The flip side of that, on the other end of that continuum, would be learning from other people, to not live their life, but to improve on what they did. And that's the importance of knowing your history and like seeing yourself in a lineage, but not necessarily, but not at all being bound to it, but being a part of that will one day be looked at from the, you know what I mean, from the upcoming generations, and they need to see you. The best thing they can see us do is challenge those that came before us and not just living in that pattern. And then when you get that pattern established of people basically falling in line, and then when you have sayings like, because I said so in relationships where asking questions isn't fostered, where it's kind of shunned for children to ask their parents questions, then you start depleting people's opportunity to develop intelligence or to even really get memorization down, and then be lucky to get to intelligence of the mind, and then have no real shot at ever really getting to intelligence of the heart if you don't have no type of example and see people living in those type of principles. You know what I mean?
It's Brother Johannes again, and I guess to pick up on what Brother Crazy and what Brother Tim said, in my eyes, I feel like, when it comes down to knowing oneself or one's inner self, I think that we need to understand that we need to find out who we are first. That's the biggest part. Finding out who we are is not, like Brother Tim says, not always about what everybody else wants us to do. I noticed when I grew up, a lot of people told me what I should do, and I always try to take the safe route out, and I still do, and I'm still trying to work with it. I'm still trying to get past that and do what I really love to do rather than just tell me what I think is going to work or what I think I can do. I was running to a young brother the other day, and he told me that, hey man, can I go to college or can I do this, can I do that? I said, look man, you can do anything you want to do. You know what I'm saying? We have this false pretense and this false mask that they put on us that we feel like that we can't be who we want to be. If you want to be an engineer, go be an engineer. You don't have to wait for nobody to tell you to go be an engineer. Go find out how to build that airplane, or go find out how to build that combustion engine. And our forefathers did it before us. Here, Africa, Jamaica, Brazil, India, everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if they can do it, why can't we do it? But we have this mask that we need to let go of, and we need to get rid of it. And it's a very very hard mask to get rid of. It's probably the hardest mask that the Africans is going to ever get rid of. You know what I'm saying? But once you get rid of that mask, I feel like you truly find out who you are, and you truly find your inner self and your divine self. Now, I guess sort of to get off subject a little bit, I noticed one of the ways that works for me to become an open person, to understand who I am in this world as a human being and as a person and for our race, is that when I look at other people, like I was touching on earlier, and Africans in different cultures and what they're accomplishing and how their setbacks and their notches on their backs, how they are and how we can compare both of them and get past the notches that we have on our back. Because sometimes Africans and American, we have all these doubts and all these what if I do this, what if I don't do this. And I think that we definitely can learn from other African cultures and see what their faults are. Maybe their faults are not low self-esteem. Maybe they have their culture, but maybe their faults are not appreciating their culture enough, or not understanding what their forefathers did. I've talked to many of Africans in different countries, and they can care less about their history, and it's sad because someone else is telling them from a different race that their history and their knowledge and their learning and upbringing and culture and religion is obsolete. It doesn't matter anymore. It's tribal. It never meant anything. But it never meant anything, then why were we the first people on this earth? Why were we the first people with open heart surgery? Why were we the people that made the combustion engine, the peanut butter, the microwave, whatever? You can go down the list. The first castles in Ethiopia, and you can go down the list. So I think a lot of people really need a lot of people really need to get outside of their local culture, whether it be in your hood or on your block or in your city or in your country, and start understanding who they are as a African in this world and a human on this, in this plane we call the universe. So, I just definitely want to touch on the spiritual side of it, and you definitely need to get with yourself and question what you're doing, and seeing if you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for somebody else, because you definitely can do anything that you want to do, and it doesn't matter what it is. If you can think it, it can be done. So that's all from Brother Johannes.
Yo, that's real. Brother Johannes, one thing he said that I think is important too is about fault. And being able to, I think in this society, one of the major faults is that we don't appreciate faults and making mistakes. You got so many, like, when think about the criminal justice system, you make a mistake and it might be a rap for you, you know what I mean? But it's so important to be able to make mistakes and then look at them, look back on them, and then improve from that. Because we don't do anything out of stupidity. We do things in an attempt to do something that we need, or in a strive at something. And when we fail, that's just a sign that we need to try something else. And we often learn something in that. You know what I mean? And I personally want to be remembered for my faults. I want to be remembered for some of the things that I tried to do that I wasn't able to accomplish. And I want to be remembered. And I want to be remembered as somebody who kept trying and never got done. Because I always want to be trying something new. I want to end on a fault. You know what I mean? Because I want to have just accomplished something, and I'm starting something new. You know what I mean? So if you end on an accomplishment, then you didn't try no new shit. You know what I mean? With that being said, y'all, I just want to leave y'all with a couple thoughts. I'm glad y'all was out there listening. I'm gonna go ahead and take off myself. Yo, I appreciate y'all listening. Thanks for having me, Brother Tim, Brother Johannes.
All right, I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna end next week. I think I'm going to deal with honor, loyalty, and sacrifice. Since we're talking about intelligence of the mind, intelligence of the heart. Because in order for intelligence of the heart to work, we got to have those three things working. Because when you are experiencing things with your heart, you become vulnerable. So you got to surround yourself with people who practice honor, loyalty, and sacrifice. But we'll get into that a little bit next week. But I'm going to say this. I don't think a major issue with black folks is low self-esteem. Matter of fact, I think we might got too high of a self-esteem. Because like he said, a lot of us don't want to make mistakes because we don't want to fuck up our self-esteem. We fear mistakes. But hell, I mean, what has been created of any value that somebody didn't fuck up on first? You know what I'm saying? Now, prime example, go to any school, talk to some kids, and see if we got a problem with self-esteem. As a matter of fact, we have the highest self-esteem in the world. In America, black, white, Asian, whatever. In America, we got the highest self-esteem, but we got the lowest test scores out of any motherfucking body. So, a motherfucker feeling good about himself, I really don't care. Because that means that motherfucker probably ain't asking questions about themselves, because somebody who is more internal about it is always questioning their decisions, always questioning their choices. I think we got a whole bunch of psychopaths coming up. You know what I'm saying? So y'all need to get ready when the balloon hits, because some of these motherfuckers is actual psychopaths, young and old. When you talk to some of our people, you can hear it in their conversation. A motherfucking psychopath. And when you see a psychopath, you need to make a middle note. Because if shit goes bad, you know that motherfucker will kill you and eat you. I'm just throwing it out there. Think about that shit. Think about that shit. Now, this has been an hour. You know, this has probably been one of the lobby shows I ever had. I want to thank everybody that's out. I'm on my last cancer stick. And I'm almost out of coffee. As usual, I want to thank y'all for coming out. Those that listen, those that's doing a podcast, make comments. I want to send shots out to my grandson, Yalan, because you got up on there and he checked out my show called How I Met Fatigue. You need to check that out. I got that on Mile 3. How I Met Fatigue. That shit might help you out a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? So, with that, this is Brother Hot Tim, and I'm tuning out. I don't know why Saru ain't say shit. I ain't want to throw him on the spot. I'm sending shots out to Saru, the silent assassin and shit. He's just sitting over here quiet. And we got somebody else over here quiet, but I ain't going to put him on blast. You want to say something before we go? You want to say something before I go, Saru? Well, this is Brother Hot Tim. I'd like to welcome those that haven't been on the journey. I'd like to welcome you to the journey because the following is growing. And I'm getting more and more hits, and I really, really appreciate that. I don't even care if you're not listening. I'm just glad to be able to look at my shit and say some hits on there. And this right here is one of my ways of being vulnerable. Because I put my shit out, I put my thoughts out, and I don't know who really listening to it, but I know that I'm building for something bigger. Because those of you, and I want y'all to understand this is why I keep pushing the internet. I'm pushing blogging, I'm pushing you doing podcasts, I'm pushing you doing videos. I ain't talking about a dumb shit. I ain't talking about dumb shit. I'm talking about some stuff that when you pass away, your children can see. When I die, I really don't give a fuck how many people have bought my book or read my book. I got a book. I got 5 of them motherfuckers. Actually, I got 7. And I got some more that I'm about to do. I got about 300 podcasts that I put on. And you like, so what? That ain't important, but think about this. Let's say I die and my children want to hear my voice. Or they want to see how their dad was thinking when they reached my age. They always got a reference. That's why the scribe was such an important part of our culture. That's why the griot was such an important part of our culture, because they kept track of what the fuck people was feeling, what people were doing, and what they were thinking. I want my sons to be able to pick up my podcast when I'm dead and not cry, but be able to listen and get something of value, something they could use in their life. And maybe they could make a come up off of it. So leave your legacy. Understand that Facebook is your legacy. So if you're on there talking about some bullshit, that's what your kids is going to inherit. if you on there dropping some knowledge and dropping some videos, you never know who is going to help now or in the future. So, you know, I mean, be conscious of what you do. Be awake when you on this shit, because they watching us. They watching us. I even want my enemy to learn some shit. Learn some shit. Because I'm going to be like that swordsman that he told y'all. Now, I'm going to finish it with this tale. Kwesi brought up the story of, I can't pronounce the swordsman's name, but Bruce Lee did study this dude, and you can see the proof of it in Enter the Dragon. There was a scene in Enter the Dragon when Bruce Lee was on the ship, and a white dude was beating up all the Asians. And he looked at Bruce Lee, and he challenged Bruce Lee to a fight. Bruce Lee eventually fooled him into crawling onto a boat so that they could go fight on the island. Now, that story came from the swordsman that Kwesi mentioned earlier. Now, this is the story, though. The swordsman had an actual adventure like that, where a young dude, because the swordsman, after killing all those people, he came into spiritual enlightenment. Because there's something about death that brings people closer to the spirit. That's what a lot of people don't understand. So, after killing that many people and putting his life on the line so many times, he eventually retired. And he put his sword down and he stops carrying his sword. But people recognized him, and they wanted to challenge him, because if they were to beat him, they would inherit his legendary status. So he on a boat, a young boy come up to him, a young man come up to him and challenge him to a fight. He like, I don't do that no more. And homeboy kept pressing the issue. So he looked off the boat and he said, look, we could climb on this raft and we could row out to that island and I will fight you. So the young boy climbed onto the boat and the old man lets out the rope. Before the guy get back on the boat, let the thing float off. Now, this, in Bruce Lee's tale, that's where the story stopped. This is where the story goes on. And this is what's important for y'all that's on the journey. And intelligence, when we talk about intelligence of the heart, he was so good. This elder was trying to spare this young man because he knew he knew he could kill him. So the old young man, being young and hard-headed as he was, got mad, stole somebody's horse, and tracked this old man all the way down and met him when he got off the boat and challenged him with the sword. Now, the old man no longer carried a sword. So the young boy drew his sword, and the old man picked up an oar from the boat. Now, he picked up an oar from the boat and killed this motherfucker in one stroke. Master. True freedom. True intelligence of the heart. He no longer needed a sword to even give out death. He killed the motherfucker with an expensive sword with the fucking oar from a boat. Now, can you do that shit with your skill? Those of you that claim that you're free, can you get up, if you're a rapper, can you get up and freestyle about damn near anything and save somebody's life? If you're a doctor, can you heal somebody with all the tools? If you're an engineer, can you go in your garage and create a new engine? You know what I'm saying? If you're a writer, can you sit down and write some shit that's going to change or kill something in somebody? You know what I'm saying? Free yourself. Free yourself, because nobody else will. Because everybody benefit from you being a slave. This brother Hatim, I'm going to say peace. And y'all have a good night.